Listen, I know you clicked this video and you thought, what the hell is this guy talking about? But if you've been here and you've been here for quite some time, what's up, fight fans? I'm back here with another video here set for you guys. Usually, I make a lot of prediction videos because I'm an absolute wizard. I'm Nostradamus, and I know what the hell I'm talking about. But for these type of videos that I make in my new series, a new segment that I've been having for not only the UFC but for boxing as well, if you've been tuning in, it is what does it mean for their legacy? So the newly minted main event for the UFC 320 will be the rematch between Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. So while going into depth of these two guys, I am not making a prediction in this prediction, or it's not a prediction video, but I am not making a prediction in this video. You'll more than likely have to stay tuned to this channel when I do make that video, when it does come in time to be making my predictions for UFC 320. This one is just what it means for them if they were to win in this rematch, whether it be Alex Pereira and where his career were to go to now if he were to win the rematch, especially if he does win the rematch in knockout fashion, what a lot of people did think was going to happen and the first time around if it happens in the rematch, or if Magomed Ankalaev re-solidifies himself as the newly minted light heavyweight king in this division. So now, when talking about already what we have been putting precipice on post on what does it mean for these two fighters' legacies, I will start off first with Alex Poatan Pereira. A win in this rematch for Alex Pereira. The most realistic way that I do believe that Alex Pereira will win this matchup is by getting a vintage knockout that he's been having on that absolutely insane streak that he went on light heavyweight, where he was literally knocking everybody out every month or so, saving 2024 as being a headlining star over and over, having everybody online, every UFC fan, not even UFC fans, just knowing that that meme, that absolute emoji, going in with that stone face and just screaming, huh? Jam, huh? Jam, huh? Lasagna, huh? Listen, he doesn't even have to speak English, right? He just says, jam. And that's all you need. You know, he does his little thing, his routine where he comes out, with his and he throws a jab, a right hand, a hook, and he's just screaming, screaming, throwing that arrow, that archer that he is. Alex Pereira has built himself as an absolute superstar. And that's what he was. He was the face of the UFC. And after his loss to Magomed Ankalaev, that's gone away. And he's been gone for quite some time. I think this fight happened, if I'm not remembering correctly, this happened in like February or March. And usually Pereira was just on the streak where he was fighting Yuri Prohaska, and then he fought Yuri again, and then he fought Jamal Hill, and then he fought Khalil Roundtree. He fought like 3 times in the span of 2024, literally saving cards by just having him on there and just knocking dudes out left and right in that light heavyweight division. He was in another stratosphere in terms of really being the big superstar that the UFC needed 100%. And with him being a superstar, it also returns of him being back as one of the faces of the UFC that they also desperately need as well. With him having his loss and Islam, moving from 155 going to 170, Ilya Taporia, really making a staple and now being the lightweight champion in that division. He's now really emerging as the new superstar in the UFC as of right now. But every other champion that they have, or person that they have in the pound for pound list in the UFC, whether it be Volk, whether it be Aspinall. These guys are very great and good names that they should be promoted a lot more, but they don't have that type of star power in terms of being a face of the UFC. And also as well, if he does get a win in that rematch against Magomed Ankalaev, there's a lot of potentials in terms of huge matchups for Alex Pereira to be able to move up to the heavyweight division. Maybe possibly they get the trilogy in, and then if Pereira does beat Magomed in the trilogy matchup, if he does win the rematch, especially in knockout fashion, if he does win in a knockout fashion, I don't know if they're going to be going and headhunting for a trilogy so fast. I mean, with him being a face and him being older in his career, I think they want to be able to get the money out as fast as they can out of Alex Pereira, that being the UFC and Dana White. So they're looking at matchups potentially if John Jones wants to come back. John Jones, Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane. These are the names that I'm thinking of for Alex Pereira moving up to heavyweight if he wants to be able to drop the light heavyweight belt, or they just want to be able to make a superstar matchup in the White House or in a big matchup in their first pay-per-view, or now what they want to be able to say premium event. Shout out to my WWE guys. A premium event, a PLE, against somebody in the first ever matchup for Paramount Plus or something like that in that nature. And now we move on to the other side of the bracket. A win for Magomed re-solidifies his position as champion in the division and the long-standing champion that probably should have been crowned champ since the matchup that he had against Jan Blachowicz, where controversially that matchup was made a draw. In the first two rounds, I think that Jan was just doing work, and then towards the later rounds, I want to say 4 and 5, that's when Magomed started to be able to really mix in the takedowns and started to be able to take control in that third round, as well as controversially very close, but I think it leans more towards Magomed's way. It really does solidify him as a champion, getting another win over a name like Alex Pereira. To have that name twice on your resume is something to really marvel at. Another thing that you can be able to look at for Magomed is that he has a sneakily good resume. In terms of light heavyweights, it's very hard to be able to come close in comparison to a guy like a Daniel Cormier. Or if you want to go back in time of history, you want to say a Chuck Liddell or John Jones. It's hard to be able to compare that, to a guy like a Magomed Ankalaev. But having names, beating somebody like Jan Kutalaba twice, where Jan Kutalaba isn't the greatest of names, but he is a name. Nikita Krylov, Volkan Ozdemir, Anthony Smith, even though he's Garbo, he wasn't Garbo in that moment that he was going against Magomed. Johnny Walker, very, very chinny, but also very explosive. Just put Zhang Mingyang on fraud watch, is now back looking to be able to get back on a win streak. Jan Blachowicz in the draw. A lot of people believed that he should have been able to win the championship belt there. Alexander Rakic is an absolute problem in the light heavyweight division. He probably should be thinking about moving up to heavyweight because I think he probably have a better chance in there. And obviously the win over Alex Pereira. I mean, that resume, those like those like 7 or 8 names that he has on his resume is just, it's really, really good. I mean, besides Jamal Hill, Yuri Prohaska, and Khalil Roundtree, there's no other real Carlos Ulberg as well. Dominic Reyes is now streaking. They're like 5 names as of right now in the light heavyweight division that can be able to get on a run for Magomed. But they're names that Alex already beat. So if Alex already beat them, then what do you think Magomed is going to do to them? Stylistically, it's going to be a very, very big problem. And while we won't have super hype for Magomed, the Dagestani support for him is going to go absolutely bonkers. And really, to be able to talk about earlier what I was saying in terms of styles, if Magomed Ankalaev wins this matchup again, and especially in dominating fashion, he doesn't have to knock out Alex, but if he really just dominates him compared to the first fight where it was pretty close in a few rounds, I think this is going to be a very, very tough time for light heavyweights. Like I named earlier before, Yuri Prohaska, Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree, Carlos Ulberg, Dominic Reyes. I think all those guys are more than likely going to lose to Magomed Ankalaev in terms of his style, in terms of how he moves, and how he is able to mix in not only the takedowns, having a very big speed advantage, having pretty good boxing and kickboxing as well. He's a total package. He's a problem to be able to deal with, and he's probably going to be a huge mainstay in this division for quite some time. So while he is going to be a huge mainstay in this division, he is going to be probably reigning over this division for quite some time. And if he does get, like, let's say, a win in this rematch and maybe two more wins in the light heavyweight division over a guy like Yuri Prohaska and Olberg or Dominic Reyes, now on a 4-fight win streak that he's getting everybody knocked out in his win streak, Magomed has now claimed really and honestly to be potentially the best light heavyweight of all time, bar none. I mean, John Jones has done things that is absolutely unimaginable, whether it be in the cage and out of the cage, wink, wink. But I mean, like Magomed, that those names, that resume, if he really does continue on as a very long reign, as a long heavyweight champion, that I do think that he can be, and maybe potentially have that hype and move up to heavyweight and get some good matchups against Aspinall or Gon or Almeida, he can be able to really make some noise for himself and potentially, I wouldn't say make him like a superstar, but a name that's like, yo, he's underrated. He's a problem. He's a killer. Similar like a Pantoja, similar like to a Volk. He's a problem, but he's not a superstar in terms of name and notoriety like an Alex Pereira would be if he was to be able to win the championship. And thank you guys again for watching. Again, like this video if you obviously like this video. Comment your opinions on what you think as well. What would it mean for these guys' legacy and their careers as well if they were to be able to win this matchup, this rematch between Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira? And also subscribe. If you're here for a reason. You love this content, and I love you for loving this content because you're an absolute peach of a little baby. And thank you guys again for watching again, and peace.